Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for another Leadership Toolkit. My name is Mike. I will be your host. I'm excited every single week that I get to spend time with you all, and I have the opportunity to interview outstanding people, outstanding leaders and managers and entrepreneurs from all different verticals of business. Today is absolutely no different. I'm stoked. We got to sit and have a little bit of conversation beforehand, and I have the just an amazing guest, Adrian Koehler. He is a no-nonsense leadership engagement expert and senior partner at Take New Ground. He's the go-to guide for fast-moving leaders. You can bet we are going to have an absolutely kick-ass conversation today. And welcome to the show, Adrian. Thank you for spending
Oh,
time with me today, man.
Mike, I'm so excited for this conversation, man. Love the show. Love you. Ready to roll.
Thank you so much. And thanks for making the time to share with me. I sit here and I always tell people, like, my audience probably knows the top of my head better than anything because I sit and take notes during the whole show and
Yeah.
have that opportunity to learn, and just for you to sit and spit some awesomeness and share with the audience. So if you would take a couple of minutes here at the onset and sort of share what's your background? What's the flow of leadership and management, and how did you get to where you're at today in the 3-minute elevator pitch?
All right. Great. 3 minutes. I can do it in 40.
Well, I mean, if you,
One time I did it in 45 minutes and then I had to apologize. So anyway,
hey,
three
45
minutes.
minutes
No,
works.
no, no. Let's do 3 minutes. So the last 15 years I've been doing this, which is coaching founders of companies, and not only founders, but all fast moving folks that like are into owning it, like
Right.
deciding life matters, deciding that they get to shape their world around them. Like, I was even just on a conversation with a guy earlier today. It's either like it's happening to you or you're happening to it. It's up to you, your call. And most folks decide that life is happening to them and they'll take what life gives them. And that's full of despair and loneliness and, anger and all resentment, all that kind of stuff. And then the folks that I'm in conversation with, they just decide, no, I'm happening to life. I'm going to be a stand, and then life gets a shape around me, not in an arrogant way, but just in like an ownership responsible way. So I've been doing that 15 years. Love my work. Love my work. I was, in some ways, I think, throughout my life, I've been a little bit like, quote unquote, too intense for certain folks, which I understand.
I feel
But
that.
but in this world, it's the perfect amount, man. I get paid really good money to go just be myself, and it's not intense. It's actually it meets the need of the people I work with. So love that. Have an amazing team. We work with a couple dozen companies at a certain time. We do all different types of services, from consulting to training to coaching to operations to fundraising, all that kind of stuff. No matter where you're at, we've either can or will help you find out how to get it done. The distinction for us is we don't mess around. We know that every endeavor is a deeply human endeavor, which is very complicated if we actually get real about it. So we're not like teachers and like, here's the 5-step plan too. We don't do that. We actually like
Okay.
what's really going on. And we know every human being's has a light side and a dark side. And the aim is to own it all. And the more that you own, some people don't own their light side and they don't actually go after excellence. Folks we work with typically do that, but there's a dark side. Like there's a side to humanity and side to just any human that's kind of fallen, if you will, or like hidden. And we all, if you're listening, you probably know what that is. The thing you don't want to talk about, the thing you don't want to be true about you, but it is. And the more that you own that without any shame, without any judgment, the more that it becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Most people end up trying not to be the person they don't want to be, and that's playing not to lose instead of playing to win. So we could go into that if you want, but that's our I guess kind of what sets us apart. We have all the conversations people don't want to have, but we have them in a way that actually elevates the conversation. Once again, we can go into that later if you want, but I've been doing that 15 years. This is what I was meant to do. Took me a while to get here. I came out of college. I was like pre-med guy in college. Maybe I'd be a doctor. I decided to be a nurse, worked in intensive care, mostly pediatrics. Loved that. Mostly loved being with people, being with families in the worst day of their life so that I could help them come together and find a way out, find a way through, obviously sustain life if possible. But in the worst case scenario, find connection no matter what. So then I did that. And then I moved out to Los Angeles and I worked at a faith community here in LA called Mosaic, which was very experimental. I've never been a dogmatist. I've been like how do I change the world guy? Was an activist in my 20s and 30s. And so I helped mobilize this pretty groundbreaking community into making a difference both locally and globally. And I could leverage all the medical side. Out of that, I helped a guy come to his own realizations about his life. His father was a billionaire, so he put $100 million in a bank account and said, "Hey, what should we do with this money?" And I said, "Oh, wow, that's a fun game." So I left that community and took him around the world, just because I spent my life traveling around the world, meeting world-changing people. And long story short, he ended up wanting to make a difference and help people have a second chance who have really blown it. So that meant we worked with organizations like Homeboy Industries in LA, which is like probably the best gang reduction nonprofit in the country. We put a cafe for them in City Hall. So there's like ex-gangbangers serving coffee right below the mayor's office in LA. And but then I spent most of my time in prison. I followed a couple nuns into prison. I met a guy named Dan, who's a partner of mine now. Dan had been doing gang intervention work. And that's how we got into my work. So into this work now. So Dan had been doing, consulting, coaching work. His first coaching company was called, wait for it, The Coaching Company, back in 1980. Nice. So he's an OG. He was like, before coaching was a thing, he was in this human potential movement in California, which we could get into if we wanted to. But anyway, long story short, hired him. We went in and we ran leadership trainings in prison with murderers. So we ran an initial training with 30 guys who had all killed somebody. They all had a life sentence with possibility of parole. Most of them had the possibility of parole. Wow. And then we trained them after the first training. We trained them how to be trainers, how to do what we did, because we didn't want to be essential. We wanted them to be the solution and them to change the prison, which happened. In that prison, in Soledad State Prison, there's only one program that's lasted 5 wardens. Usually when a warden comes in, just like a president, they like wipe stuff out and start over. Not this program. It was so effective. Even one of the guys got out, started a nonprofit in LA called Crop that is now written into the California budget for almost $30 million to help guys coming out of prison. So It really worked. Loved that. Went through all these personal development trainings, which I'm a nerd for, which you can imagine. And out of that said, you know what? I want to do this full time. I want to do this kind of intervention work. So I've been doing the same stuff I did with murderers, I do with CEOs.
That's a pretty interesting parallel,
isn't it?
I mean, so here's, I have so many questions. I'm sitting here taking notes as you're going. I know you can't see me on screen, but so here's a couple of things that I want to dive into. And fortunately, I think you and I are wired similarly. So when my brain just goes over here and then over here and then over, and we're just going to talk about it. Yep. So one of the things that I picked up on, and I love the statement, I mean, and what a colorful background, like going from nursing, still caring for people, coaching, caring for people, and leadership, caring for people if you're doing it right. Getting into prisons, you even closed on that. Hey, we're doing the same stuff that we were doing there, training executives and CEOs. So here we go.
We've got a saying in my work that all of us are criminals. Some of us are just more arrestable than others.
Some of us are more arrestable than others.
Yeah. And we're all criminal. Like we're all full of it. We're all like, playing this ego game naturally. We can get out of it, but we all have that thinking.
So here's a couple of things. One of the statements that you made, which I love, and I've shared this before. What is the difference between playing to win and playing not to lose?
Oh, it's a whole different world. So first off, and also always feel free to interrupt me if I get long-winded, because I get a bit philosophical and I get a bit specific, but let me be direct about it. Our brains are not our friend. Number one, our brains are not our friend. Our brains are here to sustain us, they are meant to help us survive. That's the number one job of the brain, is help us survive. Because, it's like we want, my brain wants Adrian to be here tomorrow so we can keep living. So it wants to protect the spacesuit. And then that's number one. That's number one agenda of the brain, protect the spacesuit. Number two is save energy to protect the spacesuit if I need to later. That's it. 1 and 2. So playing not to lose essentially is, what is death? What's the worst case? What's survival? And that might be the ultimate death. Like we all have this kind of, we could go kick her all day long if you want, but we all have this natural knowledge of the fact that we are a disappearing waiting to happen. If anybody's listening and doesn't know David White, W-H-Y-T-E, listen to David White. He speaks about this eloquently, David White. But we're disappearing, like we're all going to die. We all know that. So There's ways that death shows up to us in very small ways on like everyday basis. And death shows up to us, and usually like ego death. We call it the four ways of survival: looking good, feeling good, being right, being in control. That's death. Meaning, like, if those don't happen, it's bad, right? Our brain, there's a
Okay.
universal human paradigm, universal. Everybody has this. I'm just going to assert this. This is gravity
Sure.
for human beings. Something is wrong, bad, or broken with me, you, or it. That's the way our
Okay.
brain works. It's just looking for where the trouble is. So, to your question, playing not to lose is making sure those things don't happen. I don't want to not look good. I don't want to not be right. I don't want to not be in control. It's like these things are just present for us. We don't actually vote on it. It's just there for us.
Okay.
And we don't, and so that's playing not to lose. Is how do I survive this conversation? How do I make sure I win the conversation? How do I make sure that I feel good? How do I make sure, like, all that? That's just playing not to lose.
So
Now,
let me jump in because I want to
go.
ask this. And you said that's four ways, because I sit and take these notes and let me make sure I understand it.
Yeah.
You said that's sort of the four ways to die, right? Quote
Yeah,
unquote.
well, we call them survival needs: look good, feel
Survival.
good, feel good, be right, be in control.
And then yeah, I was going to repeat those, but you got it. Looking good, feeling good, be right, be in control. So that's the playing not to lose. If I allow my brain, if I allow my actions to take after and say, okay, well, how am I going to look good for this? How can I stay in control of this situation? All those, then I'm playing not to lose, i.e., I'm playing it safe.
Well, it's playing it short term, right? It's like Peterson talks about this, and if listeners don't know Jordan Peterson,
Oh yeah,
I suggest you check him out. He's brilliant. I think one of the best modern minds. But Peterson says it this way. He's like, our neurology picks an aim, whatever the aim is, and we could think about it in this context: look good, feel good, be right, be in control. And most folks aren't paying attention to what their intention is. They're not paying attention to their intention.
okay.
In any meeting or any conversation. Like, what am I here? Why am I here? Like, what am I here for? What am I here to get done? Right. And far too often, maybe, or just maybe often, not far too often, I'm here to survive. I'm here to, like, look good. I'm here to feel good. I want this conversation to, like, I've got a client right now, and there's a CEO, and he is in that mode. He wants to feel good. He is, like, avoiding a million things because he's about to retire. He's been there 25 years, and we're potentially going to help with a transition process. But
Sure.
he doesn't know that this notion of I want things to feel the way I want them to feel is running his world. And at the same time, Rome is burning. And I'm about to be in a 2-day offsite with him. And trust me, we're going to light the thing on fire. That's going to be fun. So often, folks, we don't understand what our hidden intention is. Back to Peterson, we set an aim, whatever that aim is, meaning
Sure.
like the future we're committed to, like the vision. Like, and we talk about vision as the future worth having, like whatever that vision is. And it might be so temporal, might be so, I just want to survive the conversation. But whatever that aim is, that sets up a hierarchy of concerns. This is what Peterson talks about. So if I set my aim at survival, then I'm going to see the world via survival, right? I'm just going to respond to it so that I get out of the conversation, so that I make it out alive. And I would just assert that's a pretty low quality experience for folks. I know it's like that when I'm living that way. And we all do this. This is not like, there's not like you arrive. This is a moment by moment thing. Like, how often am I just thrown to controlling a situation or looking good in a situation or feeling good or being right? I mean, the temptation is there all the time. So that's playing not to lose, is trying to make sure that what I fear might happen doesn't happen. And that's there for all of us much more often than we'd probably want to, put our hands around. So that's playing not to lose. But to play to win is to be courageous enough to be willing to declare a future that's unprecedented. You could maybe do, I mean, most people don't declare that. They just say, I'd like a little bit better than before. I like a little bit more than before. I like a little bit different than before. But the reference point for that is history. Like we
Okay.
don't know more, better, and different unless we look to the past. Fair enough?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
we don't know more, better, and different unless we say, oh, what was there last year? Like leaders all the time, they're like, oh, we just want 3% growth. Like how come? Like why?
Because
Is
that's what we did before.
Well, that's what we did
Right.
before. And if I were to declare, if I were to say 10% growth, then I'm on the hook. Then I've stuck my neck out. Then I've like made declarations. I don't know if I can deliver on those. So it's this interesting paradox that people love comfort. We love it. We love comfort. We love
Sure.
predictability. We love, something we know we can deliver on. We love that. Yet we crave adventure. And
That's the truth.
if you crave adventure, what that takes is risk. Like what that takes is a declaration that I can do, or hopefully, we can deliver on something we don't even know how to do. We've not done it before. That's unprecedented. That's new. That's a big word for us. That's
Right.
new. Instead of more, better, and different, we're going after new. So that's playing to win. Playing to win is like what's possible from, I'm trying not to be so philosophical. I'll just say it as it is for me.
Yeah, I love it.
What's possible from my existence? And my existence is actually a presencing of who I say I am in the moment. Like who Mike is, who Adrian is all that is who I say, who I declare that I am in the moment. And for me, that's a very spiritual conversation. But
Yeah.
but that's who we are. Like we could either say Mike is a sum total of his experiences. That's what Freud said. I don't believe Freud, but he got all the ink because he he wrote the story that the victim-y human being loves to.
Well, when you take the time to write it down, then it's real, right? And he was doing something that nobody else was doing at the time.
That's
So it's like,
yeah.
we're writing it down. This is the real deal.
I mean, he was a pioneer, and he did
Sure.
write a construct that definitely made sense to humans. That it was called an etiological view, which is I am the cause. I'm sorry, I am the effect. History is the cause. Right. That's what
Right.
Freud believed. Etiological. His buddy at the time, or enemy at the time, that didn't get all the ink because he wrote something that wasn't as popular, was Adler. Adler said, I am what I'm committed to, which for me is a much more spiritual view. Like the future that I'm committed to generates the person that I am. And that's a much more dangerous worldview. But I say it's a much more fun. It's much more lively. It's much more, vitality. I mean, I'm into life. Life is happening right here, right now.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, I mean, as I'm hearing you speak, I mean, that's one of those things that even goes back to what you said earlier. Pay attention to what the intention of is when we're stepping into a meeting, when we're getting up in the morning, when we're going after this thing.
Yep.
What is the intention? What's the direction? It's more than just some abstract goal, but what are you going to commit to?
Right.
The other thing that I'm hearing, and I like this. I like this sort of conversation because when you said, "Oh, hey, we want 3% growth," well, because that's if you've ever read, and this is automotive or people that may be familiar with Dave Anderson, he talks about he wrote a book called "Up Your Business," and it's talking about. He says, "Well, the 7 words that kill business. That's the way we've always done it before."
Sure.
And so as you break this down, well, that's the 3%. That's what we know. That's sort of the comfort zone. But 3% growth, it's still growth, so it makes it okay. And you're saying, well, go after 10%. So here's what I would venture to say, and not to put words in your mouth. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Go for it.
If I go after 10% and I end up at 9 or 8, that's still a way more massive win.
Oh yeah.
Than your 3%. And the risk we run into as leaders, as pioneers, as entrepreneurs is when we're living how you're talking, Adrian, then it's like, man, this is this huge win. I did 8% growth or I did 9% growth. The risk we run into in that type A personality is it's a win-lose. So we go, well, I only did 8%. I didn't hit the 10.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, I mean, you could view it that way if you wanted.
Sure. And I'm not advocating that you do. I'm just saying we risk that.
I'm just thinking for the listener right now. And I know that I think we're kind of past it. I mean, we've forever there was language about like I'm a perfectionist, which is always BS. You're not a perfectionist. What that means is that I have a view of myself that's so fragile that I'm unwilling to grow. That's what that means. I'm not a perfectionist. Perfectionist means I have a view of myself that's so fragile that I'm unwilling to grow.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah, right. So perfection, I mean, people like hide behind, we call that a racket, by the way, in my work. Racket is like, here's the front and there's something else going on in the background. So
Mhm.
I'm a perfectionist. People say like they never say that like they're excited to be a perfectionist. They use that as a reason why they can't do X, Y, Z, right? It's an
Right.
excuse.
Yes.
It's like a disease they have. Oh, I'm a perfectionist, therefore I can't. Therefore, blah, blah, blah. So, but there's lots of payoffs to being a perfectionist. Like that's what they are unwilling to own, that they claim they're perfectionists because there are lots of payoffs. They get to not take risks. They get to not be humble. They get to not look for feedback. They get to say they're so what's the word I'm thinking about? They're so fragile. They can't like handle it if they're not what they think they are. Which I understand. By the way, I've had that.
Self-definition, right?
Well, yeah. Well,
I've
it's
been
like,
there.
yeah. I mean, we all have. That's the leveling ground. Like all of these conversations that we have as leaders, they're all universal. We just think that we experience them uniquely, and none of us are that special. Every conversation on the planet, listen to me. Every conversation on the planet was here before you. So whatever you're
Right.
thinking is not an original thought. It was here before you. So we're not that special. So all the challenges you have, all the doubts you have, all the insecurities you have, they're not yours. They're just conversations that are happening for humanity. You might think they're yours, and that's how they run your life. So what's my point? My point is like, if we give ourselves to this like perfectionistic conversation, we're just
Sure.
lying to ourselves, and most folks know it. So it's just like, can we get over it? You're a messed up person. Great. You're a mixed bag. Wonderful. Great. Can you get over it? The more you own it and can move on, that's the more effective you are.
Well, and the hard part is when you're saying owning it, like the first step is they got to admit it, right? You're bruising some egos right now, I think, right?
Love you guys.
You're hurting some egos.
Anybody listening, I love you.
And here's the thing, like when you're talking about it, you're talking about if we're fragile and we hide that behind that perfectionism, that's a fear, right? And that's
Sure.
something I think that is often hard for leaders to admit is I'm actually scared of this thing. I'm scared of this outcome. I'm scared. One thing people don't understand, for people that are moving into a leadership space or people that have been there for a while, they'll understand when I say this. Like I couldn't wrap my head around this when I first got into sales. There's a real fear of success. There's a real fear of achieving the thing that you wanted to achieve, just as much as there is a fear of missing the mark. And so, when you're moving into this leadership space, and I frame this sometimes like this, I don't necessarily agree with the statement, but there's sort of an expectation you're moving in there that now I've got all the answers. I'm supposed to know all the things. People are like, oh, hey, I'm going to go ask Mike. I'm going to go ask Adrian because he'll know the answer.
Right.
How does somebody push through that fear, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of whatever the thing is? Do you have some tools? Because that's one of the things is you're saying, and I'm hearing you say it loud and clear. You're like, hey, you got to bruise that ego a little bit and admit to this. Do you have some tools or something that you'd recommend or to sit and share on? How do I break through that piece of perfectionism? How do I break through of the fragility and the fear?
Yeah. All right, great. So first off, I love the way you framed it. So let's just sit and talk about it.
Sure.
First off, what is fear? That's the question to ask yourself. What is fear? And, as you ask yourself that, all it is typically it's a future that I don't want. And I would ask yourself a question most people don't ask, which is like, let's say that happens. Let's say that, to your point, I was just, remembering how we talked about before we jumped on. So part of the purpose of this conversation, reminders and shortcuts, fast track.
Yes.
Reminders
Absolutely.
and shortcuts, right? So, so for those listening, if like, let's say you're a leader and you jump into a leadership conversation and somebody comes to you, like a new employee, a direct report comes to you and asks you a question you don't know. Let's say that's your fear, that you're going to look stupid or something. You're not going to have the answer. Well, you're only scared because what you think they're going to think about you. Hang with me for a second. Hang with me for a second. The fear is not what's happening, but what you think is going to happen in their mind about you, right? So that's called the looking glass self. I think that's a guy, a psychologist called Cooley. He says we see ourselves the way we think other people see us, right? So I am what I think you think of me. That's what Cooley said. If that's the right psychologist, I think it is. But anyway, so let's say we're scared. We're scared of I'm promoted now, so I'm quote unquote supposed to know all the answers, which I don't think is true. That's just a construct.
Right.
But I could decide that being a leader is I am with people in a way that helps them solve their own problems. You can decide that whenever you want, by the way. You could just decide to be a leader here means I'm with people in a way, meaning like I generate the type of relationship I am. Everybody's a culture, right? So we have a culture as if it's a, dealership or whatever, there's a quote unquote culture, but that is a sum total of the commitment of the people in the culture. So each person as a leader is a culture. Like I am a conversation. When people get close to me, they feel me. And
I agree. I feel that.
Yeah, for some people, I'm a threat. For some people, I'm a safe haven. Like, wow, this guy, first off, cares about me, which I do deeply, and he wants the best for me. And the fact that I want for the best for them, especially if I have my coaching hat on and I'm paid to do that, that's a pain in the ass because they just like to, get through a Wednesday. But I'm here to like, how do we make the best Wednesday possible? So all of us are a culture. So you can just decide if you're a leader that as a leader, I'm not the answer person. I am the question person. If you make that the simple assertion, that's going to change your life. Because if you make yourself the answer person, first off, do you want to be that person? Do you want to be the one that has to have all the answers? Or do you want to be the one that partners with the person asking to help them find the answers? That's not weakness. In my view, that's strength because it's building up the mindset and the ability and the willingness and the courage that they can stand. They can make the decision. They can answer the question. Like, have they asked the right question? Have they looked deep enough? Have they done the research? And like, not like there's something wrong if they haven't, but hey, get after it. You can do this. I was just, I coached my son's 11, 12-year-old baseball team.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, the last 5 minutes of practice, I said to them, hey, this is not about baseball. This is not about baseball.
They're like,
This is
what?
about, yeah, I know exactly. And I'm about baseball and I want to win. We're 2-0 right now. We're going to win every game.
Love it.
Yeah, but this is not about baseball. This is about you becoming the types of young men you can become. And I'm here to foster that. All the coaches are here to help you become the young men you can become. Why do I say that to them? Because that's what I wished someone would say to me. So we give what we wish we got. So if you're a new leader and you're thinking about, and you're feeling the pressure to be the answer person or to be the have it all together person, please give that up. That's not what's necessary. Also, not what's helpful. What's helpful is leaders that are willing to own their complexity and share that and invite that from others. Because every person you talk to on every day, they're full of contradictions. They're like both motivated and lazy. They're both brilliant and dumb, right? Like we're just all this at the same time. Everybody is. All of us are. Adrian is. Like, I often say like there's 5 or 6 Adrians in me. I don't know which one I'm going to wake up to.
I feel that, man.
With
my soul.
There's like tons of versions of me in here. I don't know which one I'm going to wake up to, but I know the one I love. The one I love is this guy that's showing up right now, which is both loving and connected and committed and open. This is the one I want to be. It's the type of dad I want to be, the type of friend I want to be, the type of, seeker I want to be, the type of like learner, this is the type of guy I want to be. And I hope to get myself here in this state every single day. It doesn't happen every day, but here I am. Today worked.
I think it's fantastic, man. And I love how you showed up. I've loved the conversation. I liked the conversation before. I love where we're going with it. I always repeat some things because I hope when people are listening, whether you're watching later, if you're listening on an audio podcast, I always tell them, and I normally say this at the beginning, but you got to take notes. You have said so much just insightful stuff as we talk here, because it started with just a question like, hey, how do we break through that fear?
Yeah.
That I two things that I wrote down that are just phenomenal is one, be the question person.
Yeah.
That is so, so powerful. And
Yeah.
where it took me, I had a mentor. I remember going through just a dark time in my life. I'm going
Yeah.
through that. And it's like, I was doing everything to avoid. I didn't want, oh, I don't want this. I don't want this. Man, I don't want to go into bankruptcy. I don't want to have a failed relationship. Like that's where and I'm revealing that. Like
Yep.
I did not want to be in those places.
I get it. Been
And
there. Been there.
like it's scary. And I remember him sitting me down and like he had me writing all these things down on a yellow pad. And well, what's this you're scared of, and what's that you're scared of, and what else you're worried about. And it was flowing so freely, it's scary, that it was like, well, I'm scared of this, and this sucks, and that sucks, and he's like, dude, your frame is all jacked up. And he looks at me and he goes, okay, he goes, well, let's say you go through each of these things, and he's pointing it out to me. And it's one of those things he could have told me.
Yep.
And I realize now that, as you're saying, be the question person, he sat and asked some questions, and one of the most simple and pure questions he asked was, okay, so what's the worst that could happen?
That's right. That's powerful.
And I'm like, crap, I guess
I do that. I do that so often on coaching
Yeah.
calls. Is because people bring to me their issues, and I
Yeah.
say to them, "Great, tell me about worst case scenario." And I have them do it first off to give it detail,
Mm-hmm.
because fear is always generalized,
Oh, for sure.
right?
And that's let
then
me jump in here.
Yeah, go.
I was just going to say, when we talk about fear, people have all these creative acronyms for it, right? False evidence appearing real, because it's built in between your head, right?
Yep.
Or whatnot. And I remembered as you were talking, and I just wrote this down because it made me realize that question in my life, what's the worst that could happen?
Yep.
Somebody later on said, well, that's how you face everything and rise. You just run through it.
Love it.
And you answer the simple question.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead with
No,
what you were gonna say.
I'm with you. Let me add some color to it. So
Yeah.
the point of the exercise is to, let's just say, if you're listening and you've got
Mhm.
some challenge you're facing, it's good. It's as an exercise, like as a leadership self-development exercise. Do this. Think about what you're facing. What's the worst case scenario? And don't say something generalized. That's what your brain wants to do. Your brain wants to keep it general, because if it's general, you're immovable. It doesn't matter to you.
Right.
It's just it takes you on if it's generalized. If it's a specific, now you could do something about it. So if you get specific about it, then you ask yourself the question: if it were so, let's just say it's that specific, it's that bad, what would I do? How would I overcome it? To your point, face everything and rise. How would I overcome it? And answer the question. Like, give yourself some time. Most people don't do this. But as I was saying to my 11-year-olds, champions do the extra work. Champions do the extra work. So do this extra work. Let's say it's that bad. What would I do to overcome it? And if you don't know an answer, that's okay. It's great. Who do I know in my life that could help me answer this question?
God, I love that.
Call that person. Ask. The Western culture has been so committed to this idea that if I do it by myself, I get extra bonus points. What a dumb idea. What a dumb idea. Like, just not resourceful. What a lonely idea. I mean, how many of you listening, including the guy talking right now, have paid the price by believing that if I do it by myself, I get extra bonus points. So therefore, I generate isolation and then blame the world for feeling lonely. Right?
That's spot on.
So call somebody. Say, hey, man, here's the thing I'm facing. Here's how bad it might get. What would you do if you're in my shoes? And then take out a notepad, write notes, get yourself an answer. If you can overcome the worst case scenario, you can overcome anything. So do that. Welcome to life. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Well, one of the things too that I want people to grab a hold of is just as easy as it is to fear something.
Yeah.
We get all this made up in our head and we go, oh my gosh, this is the worst case scenario. It's just as easy to overcome it in your mind. And
Yeah,
whichever one you see, that's the outcome you're going to produce,
yeah,
right? Whichever
that's
you can
right.
see more clearly. Hey, before we get too far down the road, we're only
Can,
like,
can I
half,
say
three
one more
quarters of the way
thing
through.
before you move
Yeah,
on? Can I say one
absolutely.
more thing?
Absolutely.
So just circling back to the beginning,
Hmm.
your brain wants to try to survive the moment, right? So it's like worst case scenario, how do I survive? That's like where your brain wants to be.
Yes.
Instead of how is this challenge? Maybe I'll take it from a spiritual context because I come from that thing.
Sure.
Because I just think everything
Absolutely.
happens for a reason, right? So let's say this challenge was meant for me. Like it's not like an accident. Like the fact that I'm going through this was meant for my development. Now, most people don't think that way.
Correct.
When they see challenges, they feel very victimized by it. Why do I have to go through this? Why are these people so stupid? Why does the government blah blah blah? Why is society blah blah blah? That's like the very, I would say, boring human condition of being a victim. Like it's happening to me. And
Right.
I would just say at the end of the whole thing, let's just say that the biggest challenge you're facing was meant for your development, that like you are an evolving creature. That's what I believe. You're an evolving,
Correct.
even a spirit for me. You're an evolving being. So whatever's happening is perfect. It's meant for you. It's a get to versus a got to, as some people say. Like oh wow, I get to do this. This is really tough. It's really horrible. I've got a buddy that's like 65 days sober today,
Nice.
and he calls me every day, and we talk
Good.
every day. He's in the middle of a custody trial, and he earned it. I picked him up at his house 65 days ago, and he was a shell of a human being.
Mm,
I was weeping nonstop when I was there with him, weeping just because I love the guy,
sure.
and he loves me. And he's been very resistant to stopping drinking. And as soon as I walked in, all he said was, "Where are we going?" He knew it. He knew when I showed up, we're going to go
It was
somewhere.
time.
It was
Yeah.
time. So all that to say is that, most people see adversity as a pain.
Right.
Like this shouldn't be happening to me, instead of adversity as an opportunity. And I don't mean that like a bumper sticker. I mean like, oh, this hard thing, it's meant for me. This is great. Let me lean into this. Let me go into that, right into the middle of it. Because, most challenges show up to us like I'll speak like we speak in my world, as a
Hmm.
shit hors d'oeuvre. Like most challenges show up like a shit hors d'oeuvre. And
It's
who wants
dressed
to
up. But yeah.
Yeah, who wants nobody wants to eat a shit hors d'oeuvre. No, thank you. So I'll send that
Absolutely.
back to the kitchen, but it comes back as a shit sandwich. That's the hard part. And then so who wants to eat a shit sandwich? So you send that back. It comes back as a 2-course meal. That's not fun. No, no, thank you. And then all of a sudden, most of the folks I work with, they call me when work is a shit buffet. Why? Because I didn't eat the shit hors d'oeuvre. If I ate it back then and I saw it as an opportunity, like it's not great, but it's here for me. And
Sure.
here I am. Like I can grow through this. Then if we grow through it, then we'll really become unstoppable. That's like my goal with folks that I work with, is like, can we just become unstoppable? Can we become unoffendable, especially in this day and age?
No kidding.
Like you can say anything to me, no problem. Like,
Yeah.
Mike, you could say, listen, Adrian, I think you're full of it. I'm like, great. Tell me how you think that.
Why do you feel that way?
Yeah. Well, yeah. What did I say that I threw you off? Because that's a Mike experience. It's not like a me experience. It's a Mike experience.
Sure.
So I'm interested in you. So I'm back to being you. Like I don't care about what you think about me. What about you? But leaders tend to get caught up in the kind of minutia of, what do I want to say, reputation management, instead of full engagement, which is about the other person, which is about your first customer is your team, and then your client. But all
Sure.
those things, like, connected to them, like what are they really going through? And then also then hopefully eventually like what, your customer is going through and how you serve them. So I cut you off, but just thought that was
No.
important.
No, I think it's super valuable. No, and I appreciate it. I was just going to say, as I always get into the show, I try early on to remind people, but especially if somebody is listening to the show, this is like the commercial break, right?
Yeah.
A couple things that I wanted to give a shout out to you on, Adrian, is one, they should definitely, if you want to, they want to connect with you, because though I've had this on the screen a few times, I've not said it, but check out, your website at takenewground.com. It's all one word, takenewground.com. And then
That's what we're
also,
about.
if you if you want to, yeah, taking new ground. And if you want to connect on a more personal level with Adrian, you're on LinkedIn. It's Adrian Koehler, but spelled ADRIAN KOEHLER. So if you look him up, you're
Yeah,
easy to
and
find.
let me give one more, just in
Yeah,
case
yeah,
folks are on Instagram, because
absolutely.
Instagram's a thing. So Adrian.K on Instagram. Just send me a friend request and DM, and let's connect.
Adrian.K.
Adrian.K. Yep.
Okay. And I will make sure and get that on the screen some if I could spell it correctly.
Adrian.K.
Instagram. um,
Instagram.
so one thing, or a couple other things too, as we're sort of finishing that, some other things that you've mentioned, and I would recommend people to write down. I love the fact when you said earlier that we give what we wish we had gotten.
Yeah.
We give what we wish we had, and so like when you're
That's
being
that's called
inquisitive,
that's what I would call redemption.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's
And then on the tail end, as you were talking about, like to get
can
to
I
where the
can I
got
do a
to
couple can I do a couple bars on that?
100%.
Okay. We give what we wish we'd gotten. So you've got a crossroads in life. Either you can decide to be resentful. Like, I didn't get what I wish I got. And you can build a whole life on that. Trust me. And people in your life that have done this. They've built a whole life on who they would be if they would have gotten X. And then
Yes,
somebody else in their life is the villain. And they live like that. And that's fine. And they're going to die. And
I've been there.
yeah, right.
I've gone
And so
through it.
we go through seasons like that. Or you can decide to see what you wish you would have gotten and not to live in resentment, but instead decide to give to others what you wish you would have gotten. And that actually equals redemption. Like, I am actually redeemed, so like, as a father now, I've got an 11-year-old and 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I love my dad. My dad's a great guy. He's a good dude. Now, there was aspects of what I think I needed as a child that he couldn't really give me. He did the best he could. I'm convinced of that. And that's a good conviction, by the way. If you're busy,
Yes,
if you're busy judging your parents, just tell yourselves they did the best they could.
there was no
Now,
instruction manual.
no, never. Now, I am not the type of dad he was. So I am busy giving to my kids what my dad didn't or couldn't give to me. And that's a way that I forgive my dad. So I am the solution to his, problem. And then I get busy loving my dad instead of resenting him. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, I'm in the same boat.
Yep.
The where I've experienced in my life, or risked and sharing some of the story like what you're talking about. My dad was not a good dad. We
Yep.
had some struggles. That was what I would have said. But as I developed into adulthood and saw some of the things that you're talking about, he was a really good grandfather. And unfortunately, my dad passed about 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good grandfather. And it was because I saw it through a different lens. I saw some of the shortcomings that he had, or what I thought were shortcomings,
Yep.
that I then compensated for, that I said, oh, I'm going to make sure that my kids have this thing.
Right on.
Even,
Good for you.
even to the point, and I will admit this to anyone because you need to be aware of this, even to the point that you overcorrect or overcompensate so much that strength, that, hey, this is a strength of mine. I'm going to spend time with my kids. This is a strength of mine. I'm going to provide the stability in my home or my household or my business that I didn't feel like I had that stability growing up.
Yep.
But I get err to the side of so much stability that it becomes complacency, right? That strength then becomes a weakness.
Yeah. Anytime listeners hear that, any overplayed strength becomes a weakness. That's
Absolutely.
a really great principle.
So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. We got a few minutes left here. One of the things as you're coaching, I mean, we've talked about a really good, solid foundation of leadership and things and people, and especially self-growth and development.
Yep.
When you're interfacing with, some of these high level leaders, executives, actually, I'm going to shift gears on this because I was going to ask a different question. But I'm going to go here because one of the things you were talking about, hey, I'm coaching my 11-year-old son's baseball team. You're all in on baseball. You have a coach and you are speaking to them and through them and giving them a foundation. How does that compare to coaching the people that you coached in prison? And then how does that compare to those executives and the leadership people? What are the similarities you see across? Because that's a bunch of different walks of life. What are some principles that you say, hey, I see these are the same things regardless because of who the human is?
Wow.
And then maybe what are some differences?
Wow, what a great question. Um, First off, Mike, stellar
Yes.
human being. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Just because you're here, I do this a lot. So it's just good to be in a real conversation with somebody. Nobody's ever asked me that kind of question before. Let's see.
Thank you.
What are the similarities? The similarities are that human beings, whether they're 44 like I am, or whether they're 11 or 12 like my boys are on my team, there's a tendency to only see what's in front of you instead of zooming out and being in the bigger, and I would say more meaningful and more potent conversation. So, I'm asking them, at the end of practice, they're all taking a knee, and I say, "What'd you learn today?"
Mm-hmm.
And they, there's like probably 8, 9 kids there last night of 11. And, they gave me some answers, and they all very tactical, right? How to, take a real, lead off, and how to, do a crow hop and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, good. The point is, the question is that you show up to the practice to learn something. And they hadn't, here's what I know, is that probably all of the kids there did not show up to the practice to say, my aim today is to learn something. They were just doing something, right?
Right.
They were just
And
there
it's
to do.
fun. And
They were just there to
yeah,
do and listen to me, or listen to the other coaches, or listen, follow along
have
with
their
their buddies.
buddies near them. All
That's
that.
right. They weren't living with this intention that I'm here to learn something. So, but back to Peterson, if my aim is to learn something, that's going to shape my thinking. That's going to shape my perception. So that's a similarity between all human beings, both like little kids and executives I work with, and murderers in prison, is how open am I, and actually beyond open. Like openness is such like a BS, almost like awareness. Awareness is such a BS like thing. Like, oh, awareness is the point. Really, really. Does that really change anybody? No. Awareness is like a personal condition, which is wonderful. Good. Start there. Start with awareness. If you're not aware, start there. Now, but if you're going to be about other people, then you got to go to activism.
That's a strong word.
Which I said with my 11, 12-year-olds last night at the end of practice. I said, if you make a mistake, and you're going to make a mistake, all of us do on the field of play.
Absolutely.
And if you are pouting, who is pouting for? I went around the circle. If I feel bad about it, I'm like, I have my head down, like my son missed a ball at shortstop, and he's like looking down, and I'm like, I can't tell you what I said on the air right now, but I said, get your head out of your something. And I just said, who's pouting for? Pouting is for you. Because people are looking down. Like, so let's transfer it to a leadership conversation. Let's say I blew it. And if you're an astute leader, you know when a meeting sucks. You know when people aren't connected. You know when things don't move forward. You know when BS is happening. You know when there's an elephant in the room that you're unwilling to own.
Yep.
And you might feel bad about that. If you feel bad about that, fine, great. But who's that for? That's for you.
So you can justify.
You can justify it. Yes, I feel bad. This is why I say shame is the most universal epidemic. Shame is like the most lovely place to hide. Like, I am a piece of S. I am a mess. I am not smart. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever your judgment is of yourself, which we all have them, what your judgment is. Adler calls them life lies. Whatever your life lie is, like for me, it's like I'm too intense and I'm stupid. Those are my 2 favorite places to hide. Like, hey, stop being yourself, i.e. like stop like, being like this. And I'm not smart enough. And I've got like tons of evidence. Started early in my life. I'm not smart enough. But you know what? I coach world-class leaders, so get over it, man. They pay me a lot of money to help them shape their organization. So would you get over it? Your own judgments of yourself. But anyway, those judgments are for me. That's my point. Now, if I focus on if I get over it and get back in the game, which is my conversation with 11 and 12-year-olds, get back in the game, focus on the next play. That's for others, right? That's not for
Right.
me. I'm here for other people. I'm here to make the best play so that we win.
That's how you become a good teammate.
That's right. And so that's the point. So your question was the universalities between all three. Those are what people, all of us have this big tendency to want to make myself the most important role in the story. And if we can be heroic, we decide to make other people the most important role in the story. Like I can get over myself. So that would be, I think, my question to your answer. It's like, I just like,
Yeah.
man.
No,
And that's what, and for me, by the way, I've lived selfishly in seasons of my life, and I've paid the price for it, and other people have paid the price for it. So, but also in other seasons of my life, making other people the aim, not just me being me. Let me find myself. I mean, most people struggle with this. I hear this all the time. Like, once I get myself together, then I can be a gift to other people.
right.
And that's natural. It's a human idea. It's like a primal
Fix
idea.
the thing.
It's a primal idea. I mean, it's here from like the Garden of Eden type stuff.
Right.
Or let's just use the Garden of Eden as an example. So there were decisions made in the Garden of Eden that prove this point, right? So Eve said that the tempter, the snake, said, "Hey, eat this apple," and he gave it to Adam, and then they started to judge each other, right? Instead of Eve asking herself, "Hey, what's best for Adam?" and then Adam asking herself, "Hey, what's going on here? How do I make a decision that's best for her?" None of those are illuminated in the story. Right. Everybody did what made sense to them in the moment. That's why we say nobody makes a stupid decision. Everybody makes the best decision they see in the moment. So if you're busy judging anybody, stop and realize, okay, whatever's happening, whatever decision is being made, that's the best decision they see in the moment. I wonder what thinking it would take. This is the question people don't ask. I wonder what thinking it would take to make that decision the best decision they see. But if you do that, then you can enter their shoes and then intervene in their thinking, which, if you're a leader, if you're listening to this still, hi, thank you for being here. But if you're a leader, that's the best question to ask, is like, okay, hold on. How do I intervene in their thinking, not just change their behavior? Most leaders change symptoms, not cause, but thinking is the cause. And really worldview, which comes before thinking, is the cause.
Sure.
Yeah. So most leaders don't want to get in that place because it sounds like something they're not paid to do. But if you can figure this part out, or hire somebody like Mike to help you figure this part out, or come to takenewground.com and help us figure that part out, we only intervene in the thinking behind the worldview behind the thinking that generates the decisions, that generates the behavior, that generates the actions, that generates the results.
It's wonderful. I have one. Do you have time? I have one more question I really want to get to. We're right at the top of the hour.
Give it to me.
So one of the ones that we exchanged some emails, and as we're coming to a close here, because I like to give tangibles to people. Yep. So I'm going to close on this question for you. What is something that we can do, i.e., people listening to this podcast, what is something we can do in the next hour to be a better leader right now?
Well, I would say, first off, almost all things are contextual. So I don't know if you're still listening. I don't know where you're at, but here's what I do know, is that every human endeavor involves relationship. So how things are working, if they're working great, great. If they're working poorly, great. It's all just feedback. Like whatever's happening is feedback about what you're up to. Now, you don't know what I mean by that as a listener, probably. What I mean is that whatever's happening, like what results are a reflection of what I would say is your intention. Now, you probably might not like that if you're listening to this. Like, let's say it's not working. I would say you don't want it to work. because whatever's happening is like I say, intention equals impact, period. Like there's no escape from that. So whatever the impact is, i.e. results, it reveals intention, which is always different than the intention we say we have, right? Because we're so good, we're so great, we're so committed, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know, it's not happening. So let's just say for a second that whatever's happening is a reflection of intention. So the answer to your question, Mike, is if there's one universal answer,
Yes,
is that I would go, if I'm a leader, I would go to the people that I care about most, that depend on me most, and I would ask this simple question. I would say, how am I doing as a leader? Can you please be honest with me? Because I'm really committed to getting better. Would you give me some honest feedback? Like I would ask 3 questions. And inside the one question, I would ask 3 questions. What's
okay,
working? What's working? Like, what am I doing that's working for you as a person? Let's say you get, 5 direct reports.
sure,
Go to your most influential and say, hey, what's working? Number 1. What am I doing that's not working? Please be honest with me. I won't punish you for it. I want to get better. What's not working? And then what's needed? What's wanted or needed? Like, tell me, like, because they probably know. The influential person on your team, they know. They have collected the data. People come to them to tell them what's wrong with you in their mind. In
right.
their mind. So just go, if there's one answer, just go humble yourself and go ask the most influential person that you lead for some feedback. What's working, what's not working, what's wanted and needed. That's what I would do.
Man, that is wonderful. That I love it, and I love that question. I've asked it many times in my career. John Maxwell has many tests that's one of the places you start is you ask for feedback from the
Yep.
team. There's, I think that's
Well, I said
absolutely
it.
beautiful.
I said it's so we run a leadership training called the Revenant process,
Yes.
which is where anybody can come. It's a 4-day personal deep dive. It's heavy. If you don't want to like deal with your own life, then don't come. But if you want to deal with your life, we surveyed 2,000 people recently, and 97% of them said it's one of the 3 most impactful, experiences of their life. It's like 10 years of therapy in 4 days. So, go after it. Those that are after value.
The Revenant Project
The Revenant process. Yeah. And so
process.
you can go to takenewground.com, go to public training, go to Revenant. We've got another one coming up in June. But in that training, and I'll end with this, in that training, I said this, I said, until there is a sober now, there's never a viable next. Right. So we can't get anywhere until we know where we are. So that's why I get feedback. Like if you want to lead a team somewhere, you better know how they think about you.
Yes.
It's like you're running a meeting. Trust me, there are 50 conversations happening in the room about you. And if you don't want to get connected to that, great, but you're just like running a fantasy. But if you want to get connected to that, I mean, if you want to get them somewhere, you better get connected to where they are in relationship to you. That's why you get feedback. It's to locate them. It's what they think. It's like where they are. Like feedback isn't truth about who you are. Feedback is a reflection about where they are. And then you know how to connect with them, and then you know how to move them into where you are paid to or want to move them.
Man, that is a really strong and wonderful closing statement. So, Adrian, thank you so much for uh, investing the time with me and my audience today. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom
Of
and
course.
insight that you have. For everybody, if you can hang out for a second while I take us out, be just a minute or whatnot. If you got to run, I understand. So, thank you again for joining me. So, with everybody, here we go. That is going to bring us to a close of another episode of the Leadership Toolkit. Man, I will tell you that what a great conversation it's been. And I've got 2 pages of notes. I'll make sure and try and really encapsulate that and share it in the descriptions and then the blog later, so you can go back and take additional notes on it. Couple reminders: do check out takenewground.com, as Adrian said. Then you can check out the Revenant process to be able to connect. And if you want to sign up or explore something like that, check out Adrian Koehler on LinkedIn. That's Koehler. And then on Instagram, he mentioned Instagram.com, Adrian.K. So you make sure and check those out. Do me a favor, if you would, folks, please, more than anything, one of the ways that this show continues to grow is through you sharing it, throwing the little thumbs up and the likes on it. And most importantly, because the goal of this show is to make impact on people, help grow yourself and help grow your team and the people that you come in contact with. So just share the show. If you know somebody that would gain some wisdom, if you know somebody that this will help them move forward, share the show with them. That's the best thing you can do for somebody else. And with that, I thank you again. I appreciate you all. And until we speak next, I'll see you next Wednesday. Stay great, everyone.